Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, hello, wherever you are. Welcome to Pixel Chatter number 45. I can see already a huge amount of activity in the chat box, which is cool. We'll see how we go with the internet this morning. Our internet has been absolutely dreadful to the point where I've got a technician coming out on Monday because it keeps dropping out. So I'm operating the show off of this little wireless one today. And it says the stream is bad, so I don't know how long we'll be able to keep it up, but we'll give it a go. That's how it runs. I was just gone to the stream is okay. So we'll see what's going on. Alrighty, jam-packed show today. Lots of excitement as well around the new Nikon Z system finally released after all the teasing. I hate the way companies do that. I don't think there was any need, but anyway, that's my opinion. But do love the fact that Nikon's finally entering the mirrorless full frame. I guess, and it'll be. I don't know what the weights are with those cameras. They haven't had a close look at the details yet, but I'll see if I can get my hands on one just to test and review. I'll have to get on to somebody at Nikon. If you're watching Nikon, send me one to check out for a weekend. Alrighty. The chat box is chock-a-box. Let's have a look and see who's joined us today. Normal lineup on today's show as well. Before I do jump into the chat box, we are going to we've got some mail for the worldwide sticker board. Looks a bit like that. There we go. If you want to send in something for the worldwide sticker board, that's where you stick it. That's where you send it to. It's amazing how cheap it is to send an envelope out of US into Australia. It costs me a lot more to send something to the US, believe it or not. So we've got a sticker for the worldwide sticker board. I think so. I think that's what's going to be in there. We've got VIP challenge winner and runner-up to be announced. There were some great entries into the last one. And of course, we had 2 weeks for that one because I was away in Fiji enjoying my time diving, which was awesome. It was really nice. I did 13 dives in 8 days, which everyone thinks is a bit extreme, but I just love doing it. And we've got a couple of images to critique as well. We've got a shot kit to show you. So, yeah, jam-packed as normal. Lots of good stuff to go through. Alrighty. Chance, no, you didn't miss out on anything. We're all here. You got a rum and coke in hand. Good stuff. How are you, Chance? G'day, Dennis. Rum and coke as well. I haven't got a rum and coke. I, of course, have got a Pixel Chatter coffee, which has got a stain on there already. Look at that. It's a bit tardy, isn't it? There we go. Stain gone. I got my Pixel Chatter coffee. Enjoying that. Still haven't written a message on the bottom, but I think I need to. Yeah. Who got a promotion? Chance got a promotion. Well done. Who's going to drink to that? Of course you would. Good stuff. Okay, Brian, George. G'day, Dennis. We're a Chance, Dennis. Lots of Brian. Everyone. Dave's Tattoo. G'day, mate. How you going? Handy Parts, Tex. Have I got it working yet? No, I haven't. To be honest, I haven't had the time to really sit with it. The first time I tried to do it, I thought it would be easy. And so I just sat on the lounge. Now, if everyone's wondering what that's all about, is Handy Parts has given me access to, I think, a beta testing app that you control the Nikons from an iPad or something. Anyway, I couldn't get it working, so I haven't had the time to really sit down and give it the time it deserves. So I'm hoping this weekend I'll be able to slot an hour aside to play with that. Gianni, g'day. Aussie Paul, g'day. Good to see you there. Bala, g'day Bala. Anthony, good morning. Spanner, good to have you back here. Cool Pics, g'day. Paul Goody, g'day. Good morning, Izzy. G'day, Eric, just finding Middle Earth. Good stuff. All right. So let's get stuck straight into the show. First things first, reminder, if you're not already, find me on my social pipes. Very inactive at the moment. I go through phases with social media. I don't know about everybody else. But, I did. It's funny. I did a trial. I did a test. I think I mentioned this about a month ago, of putting a photo up a day on Instagram to see what would happen, and very little happens. So I'm not convinced Instagram's a great platform to be on, except that a lot of you are active there. So it's great to see your photos. But otherwise, I don't know that it's a great platform. Same with Facebook. Like Facebook pages, my Facebook page went to 7,500 likes really quickly, and then that's it. I seem to get likes and dislikes, but hardly anyone sees my posts unless you pay. And having another business where we do pay, I understand that like if you pay, you get exposure, but if you don't pay, you don't get exposure. So YouTube is a fantastic medium. You know, one of the things that's really cool, and I'll share some breaking news with you, is we're just about at the 10,000 subscribers. I'm about 27 people away from hitting 10,000 subscribers. So it doesn't sound like much, but it's a fairly big milestone for a YouTuber, because when people subscribe to your channel, it means that they're loving your content, and it's a bit of a measurement, I guess, or a KPI, or a key performance indicator of how you're going. So thank you so much for those of you that are subscribers. And I'm just going to keep, forging ahead. Who knows where this will head? It'd be great. The next goal, 100,000? I don't know. Maybe that's a bit cheeky. Who knows? All right. So let's get stuck straight into thing. We are going to start with opening up today's mail, who came in from Richard Higgins in Florida. Let's do it, eh? Let's do it. Let's open it up. Oh, what happened there? Where's me? There we go. Is that better? What happened there? I don't know what happened there. Oh, sometimes this software does my head in. All right. Can you see me okay? I think the video's here. Goodness me. Anyway, as long as you could hear me, because otherwise it's just my ugly melon. We're going to open today's mail. Let's see what's in here. As I said, it's from Richard Higgins in Florida. Now, if you're wondering what the mail's all about, if you have a look up behind me there, that is the worldwide sticker board. And viewers send in a sticker, magnet, something. I hope that's not too noisy in the microphone there. Something to stick up on the sticker board. Come on. This is tricky to open. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. What have we got in here? Let's have a look. Alrighty. Nice. Welcome to Florida. Check that out. Welcome to Florida. Nice picture. I think it might actually be one of his pictures. Let me see. He said, I tried finding a postcard from Florida that looked good, but all I found was cheap cards with poor advertisements on them and a cheap photo design done by a bad photographer. So I decided to design a cheap card myself. Here it is. This is a photo of a black skimmer casting a great reflection taken with a Nikon D810 using a 500mm f4 lens, 1.7 times teleconverter on a tripod. Wow, 850mm length in total. And he's traded the D810 in on a D850 and loves it. Who doesn't? Great camera. Well, thanks so much for that. We will stick that up on the worldwide sticker board. And it is a great photo. I love the reflection. How good is that? Can you guys see that all right? How well you can see that. Is that going to focus? There we go. Isn't that awesome? Thank you very much for that, Richard. So if you do want to send something in to get on the worldwide sticker board, this is where you send it to. P.o.Box 472 Stanhope Gardens, New South Wales 2768. You can send me anything. I don't care what you send. But if you send something for the worldwide sticker board, make sure you give me your address and I'll send you some goodies back. So, Richard, I will send you back some goodies as a special thank you for sending that in. I really do appreciate it. And, the sticker board is starting to fill up, so that'll go up on the sticker board somewhere up here on the, where are we? On this side of the US of A. I'll just move one of my photos that I've got up there. So, yeah, beautiful. Okay, so let's get stuck into having a look at a shot kit. I've got some notes here. Here we go, Rob Roy's shot kit. Now, you'll all be familiar with Rob, and Rob has been an active part of this show for about a year now, because he was who gave me the idea to start it. So here we go. Let's put Rob's kit up. Here we go. Here's Rob's kit. Loving the stickers. He's got the VIP member stickers. Beautiful. So he said, this is an updated shot kit from when I sent a while ago. He says, I wholeheartedly agree that it's worth upgrading your foundation, since those are the things that will likely hold on to for much longer. So I invested in a good tripod and ball head along with the filter system. Yeah, and they're the things that you keep forever. So good thing to do. What sort of bag is that? It's a Mindshift bag that he loves. Very comfortable, easy zipper openings. Carbon fiber Pro Media Gear tripod. Ultra sturdy carbon fibre. Could stand up against a tornado. Yeah, I've heard some good things about these Pro Media tripods. And you've got a BH55 ball head on top of that, which I just love mine, which is the really right stuff one. So lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. Nissi filter kit, which I'm seeing more and more of. Lee must really be starting to feel the impact of Nissi and what they've been able to do, because I think people are really starting to fall in love with the Nissi gear and are seeing it everywhere. So I guess that's a real affirmation as to their gear. Nikon D850. Yeah, great stuff. Still have your D500 as well, but you were going to sell it, but you're on the fence. Yeah, it's good to have a backup. So I've still got the D810 as a backup, and it seems like an expensive thing to do, but the reality is the value of them drops pretty dramatically. So you've got to make a decision and go, well, if something was to happen to your D850 and it had to go in for repair, it might take a few weeks. So it's good to have a backup. The other thing is my son loves photography, so he uses the D810 and I use the D850. It works out good. What lenses have we got here? We've got a 16 to 35 f4, great lens. 24 to 85. This is a G series lens, good stuff. A 60mm macro lens. Well, you've put 60 meters, 60 mm, I'm gathering, 60 millimeter. Nikon 70 to 300. The G VR lens, the nifty 50, which you can't go past. Got to love the nifty 50. Wireless remote, which you don't leave home without. Is that the? Yeah, it's the same one that I use, the RFN 4S, which is great. Funny, I had someone during the week question me on that about its reliability, but I've never had any issues except for when I drop it in the ocean. Pelican case for your extra cards. What else we got there? The TTL flash, batteries, microfiber cloths, etc. Nice kit. Beautiful kit. So there you go, another Nikon shooter. And it's interesting, Nikon's certainly got some people excited this week, haven't they, with their with their new mirrorless camera. That's for sure. All right. So nice kit, Rob. Love the stuff. And it's interesting to see the Pro Media tripod starting to make an impact. Because the carbon fiber tripod world is expensive, like you go to buy them and there's a few manufacturers out there that are starting to enter the field that aren't as expensive. And I think it's because, they want to be competitive. But carbon fiber is carbon fiber. I don't know a lot about it, but I think it'd be hard to get a bad carbon fiber tripod as long as it's been made properly. It's good stuff. A Chance says, got to look into Nissi, need to get more than one filter. It's funny, when I think about the filters that I use, I don't use my hard grades very often at all. In fact, hardly ever. So if you're into landscape photography, you can get away with a soft grad on a Horizon. The one thing that I'm going to get to try on seascapes is a reverse grad. So I think that would be a great thing to get. But lots of good filters out there that you can use. That's for sure. All right, let's jump straight into the VIP challenge winners. And let's just get this up and running so I can get the right page showing you. Whilst I'm doing that, by the way, if you want to become a VIP, it's pretty simple. You head across to patreon.com/on3legs. There's a link down in the descriptions. And you decide what level you want to be, and you become a VIP, which is a very important photographer. And you join the online VIP group, and we chit-chat during the week, and every week I put up a challenge. So we're up to challenge number 25 at the moment, which is bridges. The last challenge was roads, so I try and mix it up a bit. We do have a few VIPs that are in the desert, so we have to have some like dry and arid landscapes or something like that. But yeah, it's a bit of fun, and a bit of chit-chat goes on there, so you can join us up as a VIP and get in that group and enjoy hanging out with us. And in the process, you also support the channel, which I do have a huge amount of gratitude for the VIPs that support the channel. Love the fact that we have built this community, and of course, once you're in the VIP group, you've got me one-on-one. So happy for you to come in there and have a chat. Alrighty. So let's look at the challenge. So we were doing roads. I'm just going to bring that up on the screen so you can see it. Here we go. How good is this professional production, eh? All right, let's see how we go. The internet is not working great. I did fear this morning, but here we go. All right, so let's start off and go through and see who submitted some photos. So this one's from Chance, and it's a road in the middle of the night. No, just kidding. End of the road. God, that looks like a burnt out semi-trailer. Or lorry, I think you call them. No, what do you call them over there? I don't know. We call them semis. Beautiful. Wren, gravel road on a wet WA day. Nice. Ben Wigg, George Street. Great shot. Taken from the Cahill Expressway, which is a road that goes over the top of sort of this road. Nice stuff. Chance, open road in a Mustang. I love the bump on the bonnet being in the shot. 18-wheeler, that's what you call them. There you go. Stephen Cast, 24-shot pano. My gosh. Somewhere in New Zealand. Hope Beach, New Zealand. Stephen using his DJI Mavic Pro. Nice. I love that leading line to this mountain. That's a nice shot. And out of the Mavic. Doesn't the Mavic take a good photo? Steve Algie tearing up some roads on the bike, testing out the Nissi mobile phone filters. Nice. Where is that? Looks like somewhere near my place. Pacific Highway. Rob Roy, rode into the forest. So nice low perspective, always good. It was a bit dangerous standing in the middle of the road where people do not necessarily obey the speed limit. Yes, probably was. Ren Thielen, Farm Road. Nice shot. Taken with the Sigma Art lens. Yeah, they're good lenses, those lenses. Everyone loves those. Come on, Facebook. Here we go. Chance, another one here, no description, but it's obviously a road off into the sunset or sunrise. Freeway driving, this is Ren again, WA. Says he loves this red hot rod. The Gradation Road from Brian Willett. Yes, fantastic road. If you come to Australia, that's a road you have to go and check out. Alrighty, so let's find the runner-up. The runner-up is thinking music. Here we go. Runner-up is Rob Roy with the road into the forest. Now, these are picked by the boss, of course. The boss goes through the shots and finds the ones that speak to her, that are her favourites. And this one is an honourable mention. Well done, Rob Roy. And the boss chose this one here by Ben Wigg, George Street in the City, as our VIP Challenge winner for this week. Lovely image, nice leading lines, got 2 Sydney icons in there. Beautiful shot, well done, Ben. Great stuff, guys, for all those photos. And as I said, if you want to join up as a VIP, it's nice and simple to do. Head to patreon.com/on3legs. That's with the number 3. Links down in the description. And you can partake in the challenges, which, yeah, a bit of fun. And always get you out there trying to take different types of photo. This week's challenge topic is bridge. So going to see what we get out of that. All right, let's jump into the chat box quickly and see what's going on. Haven't checked the chat box for a while. Where are we? Nice kit, Rob. Yes, it is. Nissi, got my D610 as a backup. That's good. Great comments on Nissi, just getting a filter kit together now. Yeah, check them out, Dwight. I'm a Lee filter guy, so I've got all my Lee filters, but I sort of had mine before Nissi. I don't even think Nissi existed when I bought my filter kit. So, the good thing with filters, they're expensive, but if you look after them, they last forever. And I do have scratches on mine on the edges of them, where I've slid them into the filter holder with a bit of sand or something on them. But it doesn't matter; it doesn't affect the shot. So, if you get good filters, they will last you forever. And that's they're great for landscape photography. Where else are we? Jan says the 0.6 soft grade is all I have. Yeah, you know what? That's probably my most common, my most often used. That and the 0.9. Now, if you don't want to buy a 0.9, but you want something lighter, what I tell people to do is get a 0.6, get a 0.3, because now you've got 0.3, you've got 0.6, and if you stack them, you've got 0.9. So, yeah, you can get away with doing that as well. Spanner's more excited about the DJI Mavic's new sensor. Yeah, I actually haven't looked into that. I mean, I've got the DJI Mavic, the original one, and it does a pretty good job. So I don't think I'll be grabbing a new one. I don't use it very much. I bought it to add B-roll footage to my vlogs, but I'm finding an increasing amount of places don't let you fly drones. And I noticed another YouTuber recently was somewhere and did a whole bunch of B-roll with their drone in a national park where they shouldn't, where it's not allowed, and there's a chance they'll be asked to, somebody will contact them about it. So you just got to be really careful, because I know of people that have had, the Civil Aviation Authority or the FAA or whoever it is whoever controls aviation in your country, contact that YouTuber and they actually find them and then they make them take it down. So I'm a commercial pilot. I don't work commercially, but I have my commercial pilot's license. And I don't want anything to happen to that. So I'm very mindful of where I operate my drone. And I think it's getting harder and harder to fly it in places. So a lot of places are not allowing it for good reason. They can be a little bit annoying to people who don't like drones that are there for the peace and tranquility, for number one, in a national park. But then, of course, areas where there are aircraft. And you might think, I'm just going to fly it low and it won't be in the way. But if an aircraft has an emergency and has to descend quickly or has to do an emergency landing somewhere and follows an unusual flight path and your drone's in the way, it's going to make it worse. So, yeah, I haven't used it a lot, but I do need to get it out and fly it because it's been a while. Alrighty. Looks like Aussie says, watch the reviews yesterday. Very tempted. I'm sure you could fly them all day long where you are, Aussie Paul. Not much out there. Great shot. I love WA. Yeah, well, WA is a great spot. Congratulations, Ben and Rob. Nice images. Yes. Congrats. George says Wren's Farm Ray was pretty good. They're all great, by the way. The whole idea is, if you know me really well, I'm not a huge fan of photography competitions. And that's why everybody's image gets shown, because I think it's just great. Everyone's having a go. The challenge is just there to give you a reason to get out and shoot, because I know that the more that I was out shooting, the better my photography got. So good stuff. Greg, Photographia Australia. He's late. That's all right. We won't dock your pay this morning. Never fly at the Grand Canyon. Big fine. Yeah, I'm sure it would be. I'm sure. Alrighty, good stuff. So, what's next? I think we're on to image critiques. It's image critique time. Now, before I do start the critiques, just a reminder that I'm going back to Tasmania next year, and I want you to come with me. Last year we went to Tassie, and I think I saw Izzy. I don't know if he's still here or not. I went to Tassie, and a few of the crew came with me, and we went to Cradle Mountain for a week, and we shot Cradle Mountain at sunrise, sunset. We went to different spots there. We played in the forest shooting fungi, which I think surprised a lot of people how enjoyable it is, because I hadn't really done it before. And fungi photography is a great lot of fun. So I would encourage you, if you want to come along to Tassie, it's a great way to go somewhere that you have never been before, and you don't have to worry about anything. So I've partnered up with Michael Sneddick. Michael Sneddick is a Australian wildlife photographer. He writes for our photography magazines all the time. He's a Nikon school tutor, one of very few in the country, and an amazing guy. He's a very good photographer. He's full-time. It's what he does. He runs tours. I think he's in Africa at the moment, running a tour over there with all the wildlife. And you'll enjoy yourself. You'll have a great time. So I don't organise the tour. He does. I just partnered with him for this particular one this year, and it went really well. So we're going to do it again in May 2019. All the details, there's a link below this video that you can click on that will take you to all the details of the tour. Everything's included except for alcohol and your flights to Tasmania. We pick you up from Launceston in Tasmania, and we drop you back to Launceston in Tasmania, so you can just go to the airport and catch your plane. Everything else is taken care of. You don't have to worry about a single thing, and I will share with you some of my most favourite, if not my most favourite landscape location in the country, down in Tassie, it's a beautiful spot. And yeah, we'll have some fun. We'll have me and Michael tutoring you one-on-one. We also do some classroom stuff as well. It's a great few days for anybody who just wants to treat themselves to a week of photography. When I first met Michael, and you might think, oh, do I need to go on a tour? Do I need to go on a course? My 40th is when I first met Michael, and I certainly wasn't new to photography, but I just wanted to go with somebody who knew the lay of the land. So I booked a tour, and that's how I met Michael. It was my 40th. I went to Tassie on a tour with him, the exact same tour that we're running. So there you go. Alrighty. Salt Harry, do I have any initial thoughts on the new mirrorless Nikon Z6 Z6 or Z6 and Z7 or Z7? Yeah, I think it's great. All I've done is watch the videos and look, all these YouTubers that want to get the traffic to their YouTube site. I mean, that's what they're in a business. These full-time YouTubers, they're putting stuff up right now. It really is just clickbait because no one's got an actual mirrorless full-frame camera from Nikon yet. They've just got the test models. So I think in a month or so we'll see some more reviews coming up and people's feelings, first thoughts. My initial thought is that if you were not a Nikon shooter and you were considering upgrading to something, so let's say you're using, or not a full frame shooter rather, let's say you're using a crop sensor Canon or Nikon or whatever, and you wanted to go full frame, it would probably be worthwhile waiting a few months just to see how it goes. The reason I say that is because the first iteration of everything typically is not the best thing to jump onto. Having said that, Nikon's, this is not their first rodeo. They've been doing this a long time, and I'd be pretty confident that their cameras will be pretty amazing. They have put a lot of thought into it. I mean, you look at the size of the opening, the flange for the lenses, the lens mount, and they've done that so they can make extremely fast glass. So I think they've got a 58mm 0.9 or something coming out, something ridiculous. So, I think it's going to be one that Sony won't be able to keep up with as far as the camera. I think Nikon are mainly about cameras. They will have a lens lineup pretty quickly built for it. You can buy adapters for it, but I think if you're going to be buying an adapter and using all your F-mount lenses, then you're just going to bulk it up like a DSLR anyway. So if you've already got, like myself, I've got the D850. I will wait. Now, I typically upgrade every few years, so I'll just wait a few years and I'll see what happens. And, they have made mistakes. I mean, look at the D800. The D810 came out pretty quickly afterwards because of a few small niggling things that they didn't get right. And that could happen with these. You might find the Z7 becomes a Z7A or something. Who knows? Who knows how they'll number them up. But maybe they should call it the Z7A2. Anything's possible. 0.95, is it? Yeah, I think so. It's going to be insane. Insane. So let all the early adopters grab it. And, they just released the D850, and I can tell you, as a D850 user, it's a good camera. It's an amazing camera. The D810, amazing camera. D800, amazing camera. So there's 3 full-frame cameras there, ranging from, you can get a D800 in Australia for about $1,000, body only, second-hand. You can get a D810 for about, $1,800, and then you can get the D850, which is, I think, about $4,500. So you've got choice. No one has to not have full frame these days. In days gone by, it was very hard for people to have full frame. Now it's accessible to everybody. So if you want full frame, that's where I would start. I would start with a used body from Canon. Even the 5D Mark III would be relatively cheap these days. So I would start with a used body. Try and find where the low shutter count that's been looked after, and that'll give you your first couple of years of full frame experience. Or hang out a few months and see what's going on with the Z series. But it'll be a while before they have a really good lens lineup. And you've got to think about it as it's a whole new system. It's not just buying a camera body. It's, you'll need to change your lenses eventually as well if you want to get the most out of it. And I'm thinking, to me now, I've got to think, do I, because I was going to get the XT3 when it came out. But now I'm having second thoughts and thinking maybe I just wait and get rid of all the Fuji gear and hang in there for the Nikon gear. But I love my Fuji, but it's just not full frame. So, Yeah, it's a difficult thing. There's so many options now. It's getting harder and harder and harder. Okay, but good question, Aussie Paul. You'll stick with your Instamatic. Adapter comes with the mirrorless package. Yeah, they'd have to because there's not enough lenses. Hopefully they move as fast as Fuji did. What Fuji did really well. So I was an early adopter to Fuji. I bought the XE1. And the XE1 was their first mirrorless camera, interchangeable lens, I think, in that series with the XF mount lenses. And I bought the XE1, which I was super happy with. Then the XT1 came out, and I grabbed that. And I was even more happy with that because it was more like a DSLR. The XE1 was more like a rangefinder. And I had the XT1 up until only a month ago where I sold it, because I just wasn't using it very much. And the person who bought that was really lucky because I actually had my XT1 stolen. It was replaced under warranty. So one that I sold was actually relatively new and in great condition, and I'm sure they'll have a great time with it. So now for me, I've got to either go with the XT3 when it comes out. I'll have a look at the specs and I'll make a decision because I do have all the Fuji lenses that I need. Or maybe what I do is I look at getting the Z7 or Z6 even. So I've got a bit of a different beast to what I've got because I've got the D850 with the 45 megapixel. But only if it's light enough. So, for me, the benefits of mirrorless, the main benefit is weight. I don't see a huge difference. There's no difference in image quality, really. I don't see any difference. I think the difference is in weight. So it's all about having a lighter kit to be able to travel with where you're not compromising your image quality. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Jared Poland has a hand-on vlog coming out today. Okay, so he might have got one, but most of them I saw weren't allowed to take pictures with them. They just had promotional marketing editions or whatever they call them. Okay, yeah. Is your glass up to it? Yeah, you have to have good glass. So let's jump into the image critiquing. Let me bring that up. Here we go. So I've got 2 images sent in today. Let me share my screen with you. G'day, Tim. All the way from Florida. Okay, here we go. So here's an image sent in by Ren Thielen of Ironstone Gully Falls, somewhere in WA, I'm going to guess. So thanks, Ren. And the second image we have, why isn't that changing? Nope. There we go. Is this one sent in by Dennis Stool, and this one here is Orange Beach Pier, Alabama, the Gulf of Mexico. Very windy night, cloud cover, no moon or stars. Yeah, okay, cool. So I've got a couple of images there for us to take a look at. So thank you for Ren and Dennis for sending those in. All right, let's jump in. Gone? What's gone? Aussie Paul says gone, ? Hopefully everything's working okay. It looks like it's working. Am I still working? Let me just double check. You've worried me, Paul. Are things still working? Should be. Yep, says everything's still working. Hopefully you can still see everything okay. Hear everything okay. I'm definitely here. All right. Let me know in the chat if you can still hear me and see me okay, because now you've worried me, Paul. Maybe it's Paul's connection. Yeah, another jetty. I know, Tim. I love my jetties. All right, so let's start off here with the Rens. We'll go through the technical details first, and then we'll have a look at composition, and we'll be able to go through and discuss what we could do to make this image better. So I love... actually, no, I'll come back to composition. Let's do technical first, as I said. Okay, so this one's shot with a Nikon D7200 ISO 100 with an 18 to 35mm lens, f1.8, and it was shot at 32mm f13.4 of a second. And you can see, the water movement is very evident, even at 0.4 of a second. It looks like there was a bit of wind around because there's a lot of foliage blurring as well. So if you have a look at the shrubs and things, a lot of foliage around. So that's moving, so it sort of shows you there was a bit of a wind element to this. Technically, I'm going to say that f13 is good depth of field. If you can have a look, you can see that if you looked in the bottom left-hand corner here, relatively sharp. If we zoom in, let me go to 4 to 1. So if you zoom in, relatively sharp. Could be sharper, but that's right in front of you there. And then over the back here, if you have a look at this tree here, you can see it's relatively sharp. So you can see you've got good depth of field. When you do have, the foreground that close to you and the background, sort of, you might want to, especially at f13, it's relatively safe, but you might want to just open up a little higher because you've got to think about that. Or you could do that focus stacking. So take 2 shots and focus near and focus far. And I'm not sure where you're focused on this image, but I would probably have focused somewhere around here. As you can see, it's hard to tell because I don't have a very large image, but I don't know exactly where the focus. It looks like it's in nice sharp focus throughout this middle area. So that's fine. F13, ISO 100, perfect. You don't want any higher than that. Now it's 0.4 of a second. Now I don't know what mode this was shot in, but to me, it's definitely overexposed, and I can see that straight away. If you have a look at the water here, you can just see it's lost all the detail. Same here. And this is really a trap, and it took me a long time to... Let me jump in the develop module. We'll click on the highlights and just so we can see what happens. Yeah. So you can see it's sort of starting to come through here. He's brought the highlights back, I'd say, in post-processing to stop it going red. But if I just bring that up, you'll see pretty quickly where the blowouts occur. So whenever you shoot water in the whitewash, where it's the sun is hitting, it's going to blow out. So you just have to be prepared for that. Is to use your exposure comp. I've not found a camera that has the metering good enough to be able to adjust it to a point where it gets it right. And I think because it meters off the water at like in a split second. When you take an exposure over more than a split second or a fast shutter speed, you get more white. And that's just the nature of water, right? Because those white bits, so that's why it becomes silky white all over it, is because that it's capturing that every split second, it's and layering it. So there's more light being reflected than what your camera sensor can pick up. So it's really important when you shoot water, turn on your RGB flashing highlights. And whenever I work with somebody to show them how to use their camera, that typically most photographers, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's just most photographers when they start out use the LCD display as a reference. Now the problem with that is that the LCD display typically has been optimized to make your viewing experience enhanced. So you'll see a photo on the back of your camera and look at it and think, wow, that looks nice. It'll be vibrant, it'll look well balanced, but it's not telling you the full story. And the only thing you should use that preview for is for composition. Do not use it for exposure. Turn on your RGB flashing highlights. And what would have happened is that you take the photo, and when you're previewing it, you would see these areas that are blown out flashing, and they typically flash black. You can change it on some cameras, but typically it flashes black, and it tells you straight away that you've got an overexposure. Now, this was not a long shutter speed. It was 0.4 of a second. Okay, so, the only way that you were going to, 0.4 of a second, the only way that you were going to fix this would be to reduce the shutter time or increase the aperture because you can't drop the ISO anymore. Now, if you increase the shutter time, the problem is you're not going to get the silky smooth water. So water can present a real challenge. Something else you could do is put a CPL filter on, which you want to do with waterfalls anyway, and you might have done here. I'm not seeing a huge amount of reflection, so it could have been done. But a CPL will always reduce the light into the lens by a couple of stops, at least one stop of light. And the other thing to do is if you have graduated filters, get 2 of them out, the soft grads, put one in from the top, one in from the bottom, and that will reduce the amount of light. Now you can use like a little stopper, big stopper, like a ND filter. The problem with that is you'll end up with an extremely long shutter time. And as you can already see here, this water's moving fast, and if you do too long an exposure on a water that's moving this fast, it loses its detail anyway. So you just got to play around with different settings, and go and find a stream and try different things. But I find when I'm up against something like this where I don't want to increase my aperture. I mean, here you could have gone to let's say f16, f20. Depending. I mean, that lens it's a good lens. Wouldn't have had any problems. But if you don't want to do that, get your filters out and stick one in from the top, one in from the bottom. And here I would have stuck probably a 0.6 in from the bottom, a 0.3 in from the top, and it would have worked pretty well. And you can always adjust it. Let's say the bottom's too dark. You can always adjust it later on in Lightroom anyway, and get back to what you need. So just think about that when you're taking photos of water. It is going to overexpose if you let the camera automatically set the exposure value for you. The reason your exposure compensation is so easy to access is because it is a function you should be using. If you're not using your exposure compensation, then learn to use it. Start playing around with it. And underexpose slightly. So when you look at your histogram, get everything underexposed. Now my second thing that from a technical point of view in this image is there is a lot of blurred foliage, and you can't help that, right? Because you want a longer exposure for the water, but you want a shorter exposure to make everything else sharp. And like I said, it's 0.4 of a second, so it's not like it's a super long exposure. But if you have a look here, all blurry, all blurry, all blurry, and it just detracts from an image, unfortunately. And so you've got to either recompose to just remove those elements out of your shot, or you're going to have to take two shots. And you'll take one shot for the foliage to get that sharp. It'll be a fast shutter speed. And you'll take another shot to blur the water. And what I typically do is I will then lay them in Photoshop. I will put the blurry water as my second layer, and I will just bring through the water into my sharp image. And then I'll end up with one image with the blurred water but with sharp foliage, and it works really, really well. But it's one of the most difficult things to shoot because there's a lot going on. The lighting, there's a very high dynamic range, so it makes it very difficult. So that's just a couple of tips for you there. Let me just turn those highlights off. So I'm going to bring the exposure back down. I'm going to drop the highlights down. So even there you can see I've just brought those details in a bit more. Now, from a composition point of view, I like it. Given the fact that these are blurry, which I would have somehow fixed, but otherwise, composition, it's nice. You've got this waterfall leading through the shot, exiting at the right-hand corner. This one here works nicely as well, so it doesn't get lost. It actually looks like it's part of the image, this little cascade here. And, overall, it's a nice image. There's a nice balance between the rocks. There's a bit of dead wood in there that looks good. Everything looks nice. So from that perspective, it's good. What else could we do? So I've dropped the highlights. The other thing I'd say technically as well, when we talk about exposure, is maybe if you're on when you're doing a waterfall. Now, typically for landscape, you'll have matrix or evaluative metering, which is where you have the 4 quadrants and the dot in the middle on your metering mode in your camera. When you're doing waterfalls or something like this, you could always do like center weighted metering or spot metering and meter off the water, and it will underexpose your shot, but it will expose for the water. But once again, I think you just got to really look at your histogram when you're shooting waterfalls. Now, to me, this is lacking a little bit of vibrance, this shot. I don't know what post-processing Ren has done, but I'm just going to add a few things here, just a little bit to show what we can do. So contrast is such an easy thing to do, and I don't typically add too much contrast because it sort of destroys the image. I just do a little bit. I'm a bigger fan of using these curves down here. So if you drag the curve down a little bit to top it up a little bit, quite often you can get something that looks quite nice contrast-wise. But as you can see, we're overexposing the water a bit, so I'm just going to bring the exposure down. I'm going to increase the shadows back up. A little bit of vibrance, a little bit of dehaze, adds nice depth. Let's give it some clarity as well. And, I'm going to just crop it in just a bit. Oh, not that much. Let's try again. Slip of the finger there. Just going to crop it just a little bit. Something like that. All right, so let's have a look. So this was before, this was after. So you can see the difference, just a few adjustments to make. So this is before and after. So after, look at that, eh? What a difference. So before and after. Even with those small changes, you can see a lot more definition, a lot more contrast, a lot more depth, more vibrant. Maybe a tad green. The white balance looks pretty good. Let's just have a look and see. I showed you this trick the other day. You get your white balance dropper and you try and find something that's got very equal values, right? So if you have a look, this is my dropper here. If you have a look, as I move it around, the values down the bottom of the box change. So you sort of find something where they're all very similar. Now I typically start with something that's like a grey, and I found something here that was very close. Look at that, 87.0, 87.0 and 87.2. I don't know how well you can see that because I can't zoom in on that, unfortunately. It's a tool. So if I just click there, didn't like it because it was too light an area. So I've got to find something more darker. It'd be nice if it did let me pick that. So that one was relatively close. You can see that's warmed it up a bit. What else will we find something? And we find something that's like a grey. There we go. That's relatively close. There we go. That's better. So you just find something that's relatively neutral. That's sort of a grey. Click on it with that dropper and then it does the white balance for you. And that's probably a bit more realistic. So that was before, that's after. Huge difference. So a little bit of processing. Put a bit of contrast in there. The other way you can put contrast in that works well is with your black point. So I haven't touched the black point yet, or the white point. So see they're both in 0. So if I just do the blacks, it wants to increase it. So if you bring the blacks down, see how it contrasts the image? So it's another trick. Especially, you're going to lose some things. If I click on there, you'll see on the top of the histogram there's these 2 arrows. One is for highlights, one's for shadows. So you can see I've lost a lot of detail in the shadows. So I don't want to lose that much. But I'm happy to lose it down here where it doesn't matter because it now creates a nice contrast in my image. Okay, see that? Nice depth. So before and after. Pretty straightforward, but it makes a big difference. And all the changes I make typically to a photo, unless I'm really, working on something to print it or to, I don't know, unless I'm really being fussy. I don't use Photoshop a lot these days. Most of my work is done here in Lightroom because it does most of what we need, and it's good. So good shot, Ren. I love the shot, and fairly close exposure, but I can, you can see there's just definitely no detail here. You can see as you go in, and just a bit overexposed there, but that's all. That's nothing major, and you wouldn't have got much back. Same here. See where the water hits at the bottom here? Same thing happening. It's just very white. So, but otherwise, very good shot, good composition, nice location, good spotting. It's always difficult with these little cascades to find a good angle to shoot them. So, I like it. Well done. All right. What does everybody else think? Let's have a look at the comments. All good here. Back now must have been your end. Yes, Aussie Paul. You put me into a panic. Thinking that something was going wrong. Technically, everything's going well today. It's good. I won't speak too soon. We've still got another image to go yet. Bet it was shot in auto. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so with Ren. Ren's pretty experienced, but who knows? Maybe aperture priority. I mean, whenever you use aperture priority, shutter priority, or auto of some sort, the metering is going to select your shutter speed or aperture for you. So I always shoot in aperture priority. So if I was shooting this waterfall, I would be aperture priority, and I would have to dial my exposure comp down to -1 or -1.3, something like that, to get the exposure right. And on my preview screen, it's going to look too dark. But let me just show you. If I can, I'll just quickly jump back into here. I mean, let's bring the exposure down. And if you find yourself, you get something like that comes in your camera like this, then all you do is wind that up, and you can see, I mean, the dynamic range is there. Look at it. It's huge dynamic range. So you could take a photo that looks like that, and you'll still be able to bring out all the colour. It's just the fact of the cameras these days are pretty amazing, and I don't think you'd have a problem fixing that if you took something that was that underexposed. And I think it scares people when they see it in their preview because it looks way too dark. But the reality is you've got a huge amount of dynamic range, so use it. Do I use Lightroom to blend two shots or Photoshop? I use Photoshop. And, I use layer masking. So I'll put the two together, and I will quite often use a thing called luminosity masking, which is a little bit more complex but gives you really good selections. So it allows you just to bring through exactly what you want. And heaps of good luminosity masking tutorials online if you don't know how to do it. It's relatively simple to do it. I downloaded I think I bought Jimmy McIntyre's set. There's a fella called Jimmy McIntyre who's awesome. I used to write for his magazine, HDR1, back in the day. But I got his, I think it was his luminosity masking set, and I just put that in, and I just used the templates or whatever they are. I can't remember are they called templates in there? Anyway, relatively simple thing to do. But if you're not comfortable with that, just use layer masking. Just put the two images in, create a layer mask, and paint through the areas you want. And it's easy just to toggle the layer on and off to see what else to bring through. Easy to undo it. You just, between black and white, you just paint black to see it, white to reveal, to conceal it. Very easy. Or the other way around. White reveal, black to conceal. Can't remember. But one way or the other, you'll work it out. But it's very easy. All right, and I'd show you, except I think if I did that, my computer will crash because it doesn't like too much hard work. Okay. Actions. That's the word I was looking for. Actions. Thank you, Peter. Yes, Photoshop action. So I bought a set of actions. You just run the action. It does the luminosity mask for you, and you don't, so you don't even have to know how they work. You just do them. Okay, let's jump into the next image. The next image is by Dennis Stuhl. Hopefully I pronounced this right. Dennis Stuhl, I think that's right. And this is a photo that he took of Orange Beach Pier, Alabama. There's no EXIF information, but he did include it in the email. So I've got it here in my hot little hands. And Dennis sent me quite a few in. So the other images will show up. Dennis, I just felt like doing this one because I like my piers and jetties, as people know. I can't believe how much of how much form work or handrail work is on this pier. I think it detracts from the pier, whoever owns this pier. But they obviously don't want anyone to fall off. Very safety conscious. All right. Very windy at night, as evidenced by the flag. Cloud cover, no moon or stars. Nikon D7200, 18 to 140mm zoom. Shot at 135mm, ISO 200, 5 seconds at f16, on a tripod, manual exposure mode, and manual focusing. All right. So technically, ISO 200 would be the base ISO, all good. That's exactly what I would do. F16 is a good choice if you wanted the longer shutter. If you wanted a shorter shutter speed, then you could definitely go for something smaller, but it's not going to change things much. You're still going to have a couple of seconds at least. As he said, it was quite windy, which you can tell by the flag. And the flag is, you can see is quite blurry, but also you can clearly see what it is, which I think is quite a nice effect. Everything else is really sharp. Quite a bit of noise, which you get in night shots, unfortunately, especially on crop sensors or older cameras. But it's okay. To me, technically, everything's pretty good. Not much else you could do to change that because of the conditions. So, yeah, that's all good. Composition-wise, you got the leading line coming in. I feel like I'm missing something, though. I think you could have shot it wider and had maybe a better shot. If you'd shot it wider, with just, I don't know if you could have or not, but to me, I feel like it's a bit too cropped in, a bit too close in. It would have been nice maybe to see some of the beach. It would have been nice to see more of the jetty leading out. If we jump into the develop module, you're also going to see, and this is always hard at night, but you can see all the where we've lost the detail in the shadows there. But not much you can do about that, and not much point in bringing it back out either, because there was not much else to shoot. So, yeah, difficult one. If we put the rule of thirds over it, everything's on the intersections, and that's why, from a composition point of view, I think it works really well. There's not a lot I think you could do. I mean, even zooming out might make too much black. But sometimes that can work well, the black of the night with just this lonesome pier shooting out into the darkness maybe. And yeah, but it looks good otherwise. I can see that it's exposed well. When you look at these lights, they're always very hard to expose for. And that's one of the things that people ask me about sometimes when they're doing night photography. Sometimes you just got to accept that the lights will be blown out. There's not a lot you can do about it. And if you try and fix it later in Lightroom, like if I go into this here, grab a brush and try and drop the exposure down on it, it just doesn't work very well. So you can try, but quite often when you zoom out, it becomes evident that you've done it. So you just be mindful that that actually worked. But anyway, quite often it doesn't work. So you just got to be careful as you go through when you take your photo. Once again, it gives you the opportunity to practice getting a high dynamic range, because you've got dark sky and bright lights, and they're very different ends of the spectrum. As for the flag, if you wanted it to be sharp, it would be very easy to take a sharp shot by upping your, you could up your ISO. You could definitely, drop your aperture right down, focus on the flag, get a sharper shot, blend it in later. Because the sky is just black around, it would be relatively easy to do. It'd be a super simple selection because of the contrast between the flag and the background. But I kind of like the way it's doing that. It gives it that. I mean, the fact that you can see it must have a light on it or something. So, it's quite unique. But otherwise, that's all good. The noise, there's not much you can do about all this noise. It is very noisy. And I did notice a few little dots. See these dots here? I don't know if you can see those, but just go through and, if I go, let's just go to 8:1. Just once again, go through your image and just have a look for anything that, if you want that dark night look, get rid of anything you can, like just work your way through and find anything that there's a hot pixel there, see that? Let's get rid of it. Some more there, you're gonna get them when you do long exposures at night. You've got no way around it. So let's just go through and see. I'm like the hot pixel police when it comes to long exposures, only because I have printed before. There's a blue one. I've printed before and then found these colourful little dots in my image. So, especially when I was sending them off to printers, it's quite disappointing. Some red ones there. Oh, there they are. Get rid of those ones. And I'm looking at this at 8:1, so you see them pretty easily. Don't be afraid to zoom right in on your photo and look out for these hot pixels, because they will be there. Whether you like it or not, they'll be there. There we go. I'll just go through this quickly. Anyway, that'll do. You get the idea. As you can see, I've only done half the image. There'd be more over here that you're not seeing. Is that one there? Is that on my screen? No, look at that. See that? That one was obvious, and that was zoomed right out. So you'll see these little things. Just pay attention when you're processing your images. Put in a little bit of extra time, and you'll find those things, and it'll just make a bit of a difference to your end, to your end production. It'll look good in the end. Otherwise, good shot. It's very challenging conditions: bright light, dark sky, windy. You've got it incredibly sharp for something that's in this wind. Let me just go to 3:1. What about we go 1:1? How big have we got a file? Yeah, I mean, it's really sharp for that time of night with that sort of wind, so good job. Well done. All right. So there you have it. Thanks very much for sending those images. And guys, if you want to get your photos critiqued on the show, you send them into ben@on3legs.com. Email address is down below the video. And you send me 3 images if you can. 3,000 pixels on the longest edge is the minimum size I need. for me to be able to effectively critique and modify them if I need to. Remembering there's no right or wrong. I mean, technically those little hot pixels, you don't want to have those in there. But if you like the image, you like the image. It's your image. I'm not here to tell you what's right and wrong. I'm a great believer that if you took the photo and you like it, then it's a good photo. And that's what it's all about. So, well done to those guys that entered your photos in for the critique. Thanks for sending the shot kit in. That's the other thing you do. If you want to share your shot kit with with everybody, shoot that into me as well, Bennett on 3 Legs. Everything is down in the description below, including a link to find out more information about coming to Tasmania with me next year on a tour for a bit of fun. Alrighty. Oh, that was a beer bottle, was it? Dennis says. Where was the beer bottle? I must have missed something. Anyway, looked like a hot pixel to me. Just a reminder, if you're not already, follow me online. Here's where you can find me. YouTube is the main thing. I've noticed YouTube have started a new community section too about a month ago where we can, I can put posts up and chat. So that's kind of cool. So I've been doing that a little bit as well. Thank you very much to Richard for sending in his own postcard, which he printed up himself. This is his own photo from Florida. You should go into the postcard business, Richard. That's quite good. It's a nice postcard. And if you want to send in mail to the show, this is how you do it. There you go there. That's focused now. Send it into P.o.Box 472, Stanhope Gardens, New South Wales, Australia 2768. In the water, just kidding. Could have been, I don't know. It would have been moving though. That was a 5-second exposure. So definitely hot pixels. Just go through and check. When you take a long exposure, gang, just check and you'll find them. They're always there. Alrighty. So let me just check the chat box one last time. But we've had a trouble-free show, which is awesome. Second time in a row. So that's good news. Always good news. Chance says yes to go to the store. Have a great show. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for hanging around, Chance. Alrighty. Good stuff. Well, that's pretty much it. Thanks again for joining me for the show. Enjoyed having you hang out with me today. If you're not a VIP and you want to become a VIP, head to patreon.com/on3legs. VIPs are very important photographers, and you can become a very important photographer by joining the On3Legs VIP community. Patreon.com/on3legs. Sound like an advert, doesn't it? But it's how I say no to lots of email offers now. I have companies contacting me to promote stuff, and I just say no, because I don't want to become the channel that is brought to you by something I don't support. I would definitely, look, if Nikon said to me, we'll sponsor you, I'd probably say yes, because I love my Nikon, but it'd have to be a product or service that I really love or relate to. I see other YouTubers promoting stuff they don't even use. They're promoting website companies and they don't even have their website with that company. And I think there's a little bit of incongruency in that. That's just my opinion. It's not about being right or wrong. It's just who I am. My values say it doesn't make sense. So I would rather the whole show, well, the YouTube channel is brought by you. So if you, who sponsors this show? You do. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. I'm off. I'm going to go get stuck into the weekend. I'm going to go and find something to shoot. How about you get out there and take some photos? Cheerio.